Hey guys, this is Chef Frank Murphy from North Bend High School, Culinary Arts, and we have another video for you today. This one is going to be a sort of a short series made up of scones, brown bread, dipping strawberries, setting a table for afternoon tea and the afternoon tea itself. So there'll be about 4 videos in the whole series here. So number 1, making scones. Now these scones, you know, this brings me way back to my childhood, and my nana, Mary Byrne, back in Beasington, Dunboyne, and she would make brown bread and scones almost every day. Now she may not be too happy with me today because I'm going to put some chocolate chips into them. But we had just plain white scones, plain brown scones, or raisins and sultanas. And that was our favorite. And sometimes some sugar over the top of them as they were baking. They're really, really easy. You have to put this together pretty quickly. If you're using a mixer, don't over mix. And that's probably the biggest problem when making scones. People say, oh, my scones were too heavy. It's more likely that you just over mix them. So you have to just do it quickly. Don't handle it too much. Remember, back then when they were making everything by hand, they had enough to do, gardening for food. They didn't have all the machines that we have now, mixers and all sorts of stuff. They had to do things quickly, so they didn't hang about. So here we have a large bowl, and into this I'm going to cheat a little bit because I can't quite remember what I have in front of me. 36 ounces of all-purpose flour, or you could use cake flour too, but all-purpose, you probably have it at home. So that just goes straight into the bowl. And into that we're going to add some sugar, and in this case it's about 11 ounces of sugar. Just pour it right in on top. I've got a little salt, and it's about 2 tablespoons, or 1 tablespoon goes in there. Don't worry, I'm going to put these all in the show notes and at the end. So look in the notes underneath the video and you'll get the ingredients. And then we got some baking powder and some butter. And of course I've washed my hands and everything first, so we're all okay. Keeping everything nice and tidy and getting it out of the way, so clean up is easier. I'm going to hold back on my chocolate chips a little bit, and over here I've got some buttermilk. That's not going to go in quite yet. What we want to do is to mix this together first. So just using your fingers, gently mix all those ingredients together. That's all the dry ingredients, okay? Your butter is cut up into small pieces. You want the butter to be out of the refrigerator a little while, so it's starting to get a little bit soft, but not too soft. If it's really soft, put it back in the refrigerator. You're just going to end up with a mush. And we're going to actually start to rub the butter in. We want this butter to break up into small pieces in the flour. Okay, so I hope you can see here, I've got my buttermilk and my chocolate chips just over here. So I want to break this up. So just use your kind of fingers just to break up that little bits of butter, little bit by little bit. Now if you're doing this in a machine, mixer, use the spade or the K attachment. So that's the flat one. Don't want to use a whisk, it's just going to make a mess, and a hook just won't do anything to it. Okay, so between my fingers, my thumb, I'm just kind of rubbing the butter, and we just kind of keep rubbing it in. And what we want to do is to bring it up to something like breadcrumbs. I can remember my nana actually showed me how to do these. afternoon teas, you know, were very, very important. Um, every day, around that 2 o'clock, we'd have our tea, our afternoon tea. But I always remember one that we had some in the morning as well. And they lived on a farm. And about 10 o'clock, she would make tea for the guys that were working there. And they'd all come to the door and come on in. My grandfather and all these guys would, I'm trying to think of their names now. Tommy Kenny was one. Paddy looked after the cattle. Tommy looked after greyhounds and stuff. But they would come to the door, they would take their boots off, and they would come on in, and she'd have the table set. The funny thing was that these guys didn't quite get on with each other. They all had their own little parts of the farm they'd work on. But they would come and they would be social to each other for 10-15 minutes. She'd have the table set and have fresh scones and have fresh brown bread on the table. And in the corner, one side of the room, there was a big fireplace, and it was going all the time. Tea, the water for the tea was boiled on there. A lot of stuff was done on that fire. So the room was always warm, 365 days of the year. And these guys would come in and they'd have old suits on them, three-piece suits. They were in the Sunday best. They had plenty of holes in them. They were tied up with a piece of string. But they're just characters. And they would take those boots off. My grandfather's socks always had no holes in them because my grandmother would always fix them if they did. But Paddy always had holes in them. His toes would be sticking out. And then we would, they would sit down. They'd have all the tables all set, and the china was out, and they'd be having their tea there, and their scones, and brown bread, and fresh butter, and fresh cream, and everything, and some jelly, fresh jelly, and the tea. Only trouble was that after about 10-15 minutes, these guys were working all over the farm, and you can just imagine the odors, and cattle and sheep, and the socks and the fire. So eventually she'd tell them to get out and have to open the windows and kind of air it out a bit. But they were all memories, good memories. Anyway, I will be follow along with this video, and you'll see how to make a bunch of these things. I have a couple of surprises in there too. So here we go. Butter is rubbed in. It's kind of looking like breadcrumbs. See, it doesn't take that long. I'm going to just add in the chocolate chips. I said she probably would not be too happy with chocolate chips in her scones, but you know, life changes. You could put all sorts of stuff in here. It could be cranberries and stuff. Now, if you are putting, say, cranberry orange, and you wanted to use a little orange juice to give you that flavor, you take that out of the total amount of the liquid. So if we have, looking here, I think we have about 14 or so ounces, then maybe we would put, you know, maybe 2 ounces of orange juice, and the rest, say the 12 ounces then, would be the milk. Okay, so now we add our buttermilk. And if it's not enough, you can always add a bit more, okay? So it's not a, you know, sometimes it's dead on, sometimes you might need a little bit more. Just a lot of factors. Some people like their scones a little sweeter, so you could add a little bit more sugar. Some don't like it that so sweet and take some sugar out. Okay, So we're just going to bring this together. Again, just using your fingers, and you're not going to dig it in like Play-Doh or something, and it'll mix itself. And you can see it coming together. You can make these, put them on a tray, freeze them, and then cook them from frozen. They cook really well that way. So if you are deciding to do an afternoon tea a little later, you could do this earlier in the week, and then freeze them up and bake them on the day. All right, so next I'm going to put this out onto my table here. You can see that it actually does look quite dry. Don't worry about it. And we just bring this together. Don't want to knead it too much. You knead this and it's going to be tough, okay? So it's just a matter of bringing everything together. And the gentler that you do this, the better that you're going to like the end product. See, I'm just doing it nice and easy. And you can see that starting to come together. Now, one thing you don't really want to do is to just make this and then leave it on a tray somewhere or stick it in the refrigerator. Either cut them up and bake them off, or as I said, cut them up and freeze them. See? Now, all you do now, use your hand. You can use a rolling pin if you want. I'm not going to go and add any more flour. I'm just going to push that out. And you want it to be at least 3/4 of an inch thick, okay? Okay, so we have it to there. Next thing, we're going to cut it up. So you could use cookie cutters. You could use a glass, a cup, even just a knife. And it's kind of the way I remember. We used to just cut it, strip like this, another strip, and then we would just take it out like that. They didn't have to be the same shape or anything. So just a little bit like that. Now, I have a tray right here. I'm going to put a few of these on here. Space them out nicely. Maybe I'll just do one more. There we go. These I will continue to cut up here. I'm going to put them onto another tray. And I'm going to stick them in the freezer and wrap them in some saran wrap. This one's a bit awkward, funny shape, so just, and I will have them for later on. Now, with these ones that I have on the tray, make sure you can see it here. I have a little bit more buttermilk here. A little brush. If you don't have any more buttermilk, some regular milk will do. And if you don't have buttermilk, if you have sour milk, even if it's just some milk that's left over, you take it out of your refrigerator, maybe leave it on this countertop overnight, let it go sour. This perfect way of using up sour milk. In fact, that's the way she used to do it. It was the yesterday's milk. And being the milk all nice and fresh every day, you did not want to waste any, so that's what we were used for the baking. So I have a little bit of that in. And now this is going to go into the oven. It's at 350 degrees, and I'll slide it in there, and we'll give it about 18 minutes or so. We can check, and it might need a little bit extra. And also keep an eye, could be done before it, but somewhere 18 minutes, okay? Well, here they are. They took just a little bit over the 18 minutes. This one, I think, probably went about 19 or so. 350, convection if you have it. If you don't have a convection oven, you'll probably want to be giving them about 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes more. And they are ready. So let me just put them onto a plate here. Our cooling rack would be good. Now, best way to serve these? Well, a little bit of butter, a little bit of heavy cream whipped up, a little bit of maybe a jam, a raspberry or a strawberry jam. But as we get closer to that afternoon tea, I will show you the rest of the stuff that you can do with this. I'm going to try them, because I have some good butter here. Those of you that know me, this is a nice bit of Kerrygold. I'm going to take a little bit off here, and maybe just one of these small ones, I think. Cut it in half. And it's still warm, so this butter is just going to melt right in there. I like my butter, so a little bit extra. Wrap up the butter. I want the air to get at it too much. And, well, it's good. Well, Jake Smith and Mrs. Goslin missed out on this one. So, thank you for watching. I'm going to continue enjoying my scone. I'll catch you in the next video. So it's Chef Frank Murphy from North Bend High School Culinary Arts. And if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll catch you later. Thank you.